Hey, this is Tim again from Sentient Cinema, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about the process of treating the dialogue that we recorded for the teaser trailer for Uploader. Once we got the recording all into Logic, I went through and did selects on the takes I liked and cut them together into what you see here. Each of these is a different chunk of audio, and I found Adam's best performances and tied them all together with a bit of space to match the pacing that we were going for, and that's what you see here. And I have two channels of that same audio, and I'll explain why there's two channels in a bit. But first off, I wanted to just do a bit of basic cleanup on the audio, and that's what you're seeing here on this channel. In these slots I have a few different treatments applied, and the first one is a channel EQ, and if I open this up, let's see what it's doing. I'm cutting the bass and the highs to deal with a bit of hum and a bit of hiss that ended up in the recording. So I just trimmed the bass up to about 75 kilohertz or so, just to get that low end 60 hertz hum. And I should say 75 hertz is where I trimmed it to get that 60 hertz hum that often shows up in things that are not as professionally hooked up as we might like, and this high-end hiss that also often shows up. I'm recording. We did the recording in my condo, which is nowhere near as soundproof and sealed as I would like it for this kind of thing, so I had to do a bit of trims. It wasn't too bad, but that's what these are doing. And then these two peaks here are boosting the frequencies that I felt were sort of the sweet spots of Adam's voice, just to make sure they were nice and clear. So I boosted those here. Next I added a compressor, and compressing dialogue, especially an actor's dialogue, is pretty helpful because as the actor reads, and especially if you're bringing together different takes of audio, they're going to have different volume levels, and I tried to ride the volume during recording to even it out as much as possible, but you can only do so much. And as you'll see, if we look at the waveform here, we have different peaks and valleys, other direction, corresponding to the amplitude that was recorded, the amplitude of his voice as it was recorded. The larger the peak, the larger the amplitude, the louder his voice was, and so on. So what this compressor is doing is when it hits a certain threshold, which you set with the compressor threshold, it will then reduce that gain of the audio and bring it back down to kind of the threshold that you've set, which would hopefully even out these peaks and valleys a bit to keep them more along the same volume level. You've got attack and release controls and ratios in these and things that I won't get into, but basically what this tool is doing is evening out the volume levels a bit so that they're not so all over the place, which is going to happen. Along with that, let's go back to the mixer here. We've got an add limiter, an adaptive limiter, which along with the compressor does a bit of limiting to keep the dialogue audio from not going past 0 decibels. It actually keeps it scaled down fairly low, but its ceiling is 0 decibels, so that we know it's not going to clip. And here's what all of that raw audio sounded like after the, or I'll do before, so we can hear the raw audio.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
Okay, and then I'll turn on the EQ, the compressor, and the limiter, and here's what that sounds like.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
So there we have our sort of evened out and sweetened bass audio track, upon which I then added a space designer. And what this is a reverb tool. And reverb is what happens when sound bounces off objects and walls and travels through a room or a space and hits your ears again. and continuously does this. And this is what we call reverb. And the dialogue in question from the film is being delivered in to a large group of people. So, and just along with this sort of scale of what he's saying, I wanted to have that same scale in the sort of atmospheric of his voice. So I added a concert hall reverb, which adds some character and some space to his sound. And we'll hear what that sounds like.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
Okay. And I added a pretty decent amount of reverb, you'll notice. It's pretty heavy. But then I've pulled this channel down to minus 14 decibels. And the reason I did that is because I have this other channel that's overlaid at the same time. And what this is the same audio, still pulled down a bit in volume, but it has none of the same treatments except for the compressor. And when you bring both of those together at their various, their two separate volume levels, this is the result you get.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
So there you see, you can hear that he's much clearer sounding than he originally was. He's got more presence. He's got more volume where he needs it, less volume where he doesn't need it. And it sort of has a nice feel to it. It's starting to get towards that sort of ominous vibe that I was going for. But just by giving it that hint of reverb and cleanup, it's much easier to listen to. It's easier to understand him. And then we can export that into our final arrangement for the trailer, which you'll see here. And this is where I've brought together everything, including all of the music and various sound effects and other things that were used on the audio side of the teaser. And I did a few other treatments to his vocals in here as well. I'll get into all of this stuff, which is the music that's used in the teaser and the other sound effects in the next video. But for this one, we'll just talk about what I did with his dialogue. So here's the dialogue from the teaser after all of the treatments that I applied in this Logic file. Check it out.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point. We are.
So that's what we just set up in that other Logic file, only with a lot of additional treatments added. And I'll go through them one by one here. So here's, we've again got the same stereo 2 channels for our dialogue, but with different treatments applied in this case. And the bass is what we heard before.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man.
It's there, so we hear our original bass sort of sweetening pass. And then I've added overdrive and EQ to kind of boost some specific frequencies and warm up his voice a bit.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man.
So you can hear how sort of much warmer that sounds and feels.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful
than it used to.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technology.
And that's this overdrive. And what this overdrive is doing is just boosting the 1400 hertz frequency tone by applying a bit of distortion and additional layers of frequencies around that frequency range. And then I've got another channel here, which when I solo that, this is where we get the sort of robotic digitized effect.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
And I did that with a couple different tools. The first one is a pitch corrector. And let me turn everything else off here. What this is doing is it's got a root and a scale. So the root is F sharp and its scale is melodic, which is the root and scale of the music that I used or that I wrote for the teaser. And what this is doing is it's analyzing the pitch of the audio and then forcing it into a new range of pitches based on this scale. It's kind of like an auto tune. And what that sounds like is this.
The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
You'll see as it's playing, it's detecting its pitch, and you'll see which pitch it's shifting it into, and it's giving it that sort of robotic vibe. And in addition to that, I've got this pitch shifter, which is just shifting the audio down 2 semitones to give it a sort of detuned effect, which sounds like this.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man.
It's subtle, but it's there, and it gives him a little bit of more of a bassy presence, but also kind of an ominous, distorted, digital, twisted sort of vibe that fits with the story of the film and the vibe of the teaser that I was trying to go for. And then lastly, we've got a channel EQ, which, similar to the first treatment, is just finding different sweet spots that have now been introduced through the pitch correction and boosting those. And that's going to clip because it hasn't gone through its later mixdown treatments, but here's what that sounds like.
We have at our fingertips the most powerful technologies ever known to man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point.
And that's it. That was the final treatment, that last EQ. That, along with some track automation, which you'll see here, doing some automation on those different effects, and especially automating the volume so that it gets a bit louder as the teaser progresses and the music comes to a crescendo, and then cuts out and does a few other things here and there to kind of create the final mix down, which, when I unsolo this and this, we'll hear the final mix down with the music, which sounds like this.
The man. The whole current of who we are and what we have made has propelled us to this point. We are the pioneers, striving forward to the frontier of science, pushing into the unknown.
So that's it for the treatment of the dialogue for the uploader teaser trailer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Tune in next time on sentientcinema.com for a discussion of how this music was created and the different tools I used in Logic to put the music together. Hope to see you then.